In the early hours of April 26, 1986, an event unfolded in the quiet town of Pripyat, Ukraine, that would change the course of history forever. It was the worst nuclear disaster the world had ever seen, and its effects are still being felt to this day. The explosion at Reactor 4 of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant released a massive amount of radioactive material into the atmosphere. The disaster did not just impact the immediate area, but sent radioactive clouds sweeping across Europe, spreading contamination far and wide. The reactor's core became unstable during a routine safety test, leading to a sudden surge of power that caused the explosion. The force of the blast tore apart the reactor building, sending chunks of radioactive debris into the air. Firefighters, unaware of the true danger, rushed to the scene to contain the fires, but many would soon succumb to radiation poisoning. The residents of Pripyat, just a few kilometers away, had no idea what was happening. They continued with their daily lives, blissfully unaware that a silent killer was creeping through their town. The Soviet government waited nearly 36 hours before ordering an evacuation of the area. By then, it was too late for many. Thousands were exposed to dangerous levels of radiation, and entire communities were uprooted. Pripyat became a ghost town overnight, frozen in time, with personal belongings left behind as people fled with little more than the clothes on their backs. 4 days, the reactor burned uncontrollably, releasing radioactive materials into the atmosphere. A massive sarcophagus of steel and concrete was hastily constructed around the reactor to contain the radiation, but it was only a temporary solution. To this day, radiation lingers in the soil, the buildings, and the air around the plant. Nature has slowly reclaimed the area, but the scars of the disaster remain. The Chernobyl disaster was not just a failure of technology, it was a failure of communication and governance. Soviet authorities initially downplayed the scale of the disaster, withholding information from the public and the international community. The true extent of the devastation only became clear when radiation detectors in Sweden picked up unusual levels of radiation, forcing the Soviet Union to admit the truth. The consequences of Chernobyl were far-reaching, with thousands of cases of cancer linked to radiation exposure. Wildlife in the exclusion zone has mutated, and some species have adapted to the radioactive environment in ways scientists are still trying to understand. The disaster serves as a grim reminder of the immense power and risk of nuclear energy. This story is important because it highlights the devastating human and environmental toll of neglecting safety in the pursuit of power. It is a wake-up call for current and future generations to consider the responsibilities we bear when harnessing such dangerous forces. Chernobyl also reminds us that the cost of ignoring the warning signs can be unimaginable. If you found this story compelling, take a moment to explore how nuclear energy is used today and what safety measures are in place to prevent another disaster. Share this with others so we can collectively learn from the past and push for more transparency and safety in all industries where the stakes are so high.